Hello, good morning. Happy Thursday, folks. Welcome to the Healing Hour. I am your host, Sarah Fargo O'Brien, and I am happy to bring you another episode of the Healing Hour, proudly sponsored by the Let's Be Diverse Healing Hour and Andrew Stout. And a little announcement about that. If you guys didn't see Andrew Stout's post this week about his consulting services for getting seen on podcasts and sort of getting more exposure, go check that out. Sort of his new business venture, and it seems to be really working and successful for people, which is really cool to see. So I am grateful that Andrew and the Let's Be Diverse podcast is a sponsor of this podcast. We align a lot in our leadership ideals and how we connect with people and really valuing people. Oh my gosh, guys, there's a spider. Oh gosh, on my computer. Where he went, I don't know. Oh no. He's gone. That was freaking me out. He's climbing on the top, guys. Jeez. Now I don't know where it's at. It's probably under my computer. In my computer. I don't know. You guys see me going all over the place. I don't know where it went. If I freak out again, it's because there's like a spider crawling across me. So sorry for all the movement. There you go for like live. Hi, Andrew. Happy Thursday. If you just saw me like lose my shit over this spider and like move my computer all over the place. That was fun for everyone. I don't know where it went, guys. It's really freaking me out. Happy Thursday to you, Andrew. I'm just talking about your new services that you're providing for people. And then, of course, where we align and overlap in our values and our work together. And just, giving you a little shout out. You guys should check out his podcast too. He brings on some really interesting people. I know I have been guestless here for a while. I am going to bring Andrew on, but I need to sort of like organize my topics for you guys. And it has been a day. It has been a month. I know a lot of people are feeling it. Be sure to tell me that you're here. Drop in the chat. Say hello, ask questions. Today, we're going to be talking about unhealthy conflict as we move past gaslighting and gaslighting examples. Those are episodes from earlier this month. Be sure to check them out on my YouTube channel, which is just YouTube/@TimelessTherapist. And you can catch all previous episodes on my YouTube channel. You can also find links to my YouTube channel and my episodes on my website at www.sarahobrienlcsw.com. Some friends are in the house. Good morning, Leanna. Happy to see you. Glad to see you back again this week. Thank you again for coming in to support me. And Andrew's always full of compliments. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. I'm not sure if that's warranted. I don't feel that amazing. I'm struggling with a lot of stuff this morning, this month in general, in my life. I'm not feeling very amazing. I'll do my, I found the spider. Okay, got it. Safe. What a debacle this morning. Gosh, I'm all over the place. I promise this will be more organized as I get into my content for today. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. This is what happens when you do a live show. Live things happen. We might be lucky to get through the whole show without my dog barking because he's up here with me today after I took the other dog to daycare who's losing her mind this morning. So I've already been all over the place today. Let me do my check-in officially and then take my 3 deep breaths so I can literally get grounded. Just talking about this with my network this morning. Breathing is about the only thing I can do to get back into myself. I am feeling all over the place in general and a lot of emotions about a lot of things happening in and around me. And it's been hard to focus, including today. Allergies are killing me. It's still the pollening over here in Richmond, Virginia. And so I'm losing it. LinkedIn user, I'm not sure who you are. And thank you so much. It is the truth. You're so good at what you do. I appreciate you saying this. I do not feel like that today. So these compliments are like really boosting me up. I'm having trouble beating myself up, and I'm in some negative self-talks where I'm not feeling worthy. I'm not feeling important. So this is all sort of coming at me at a good time. It's a little bit hard for me to absorb this, but I really appreciate people letting me know these kinds of things as well to counteract those negative messages in my mind. Let me do my official check-in and take my 3 deep breaths and get organized so you guys aren't all over the place with me. Like I said, I had a busy morning. There has been a lot happening in my neighborhood with our HOA, the developer in this area, I will say outright, I don't think is doing good business. They left our HOA in a really shitty spot. A lot of the neighborhood is unhappy. The board is not communicating effectively. They have like tripled the HOA dues since I moved into this neighborhood less than 4 years ago. And it's really like created an uproar. And so there's all this discord in our Facebook group. People are attacking me personally for giving my opinion on things. And it's not trauma informed, y'all. Like, it is not trauma informed in that space. And it is triggering the shit out of me and activating my stuff all over the place. I just want to attack people. That's what I do when I get triggered. It's really an effort for me to rein that in and not like verbally lash out on my keyboard. I know that's really easy for a lot of people to do. It's really easy for me to do. It's easy for me to do in person. I don't even need the keyboard. When I am triggered, the rage just like erupts out of me. And I had some people really coming down on me this morning. And there's just like a lot going on that has me upset about me and other people getting taken advantage of. People not being honest, people attacking other people. And anybody that knows me knows that I fight the good fight. I'm the bulldog in the corner, especially when you back me in there and then trigger all my trauma. And a lot of my trauma is triggered by injustice and unfairness. And that's what I feel like is going on here in my neighborhood. And it really boils my blood. And so I am like kind of all jacked up this morning because of that and the spider crawling across my computer. So okay, that's me. That's where I'm at. I'm going to get into unhealthy conflict because shit, that is what I'm freaking dealing with all over the place right now. Let me take 3 deep breaths to get myself together, and then we'll dive into content. Thank you, Andrew, letting me know that was him with the compliments. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here to root me on and to engage with me. It's helpful as I move through the show. I'm sure it's more interesting for everybody else when it's interactive and it's just not me talking at you. So let's take our 3 deep breaths to get some grounding. This is an excellent grounding skill. This is a good nervous system regulation skill. It's a good stress reliever and anxiety reducer because it turns down the cortisol that's getting pumped out in your brain when you're stressed. And a lot of times that is triggered by the shallow breathing when we get stressed. I'm definitely guilty of that. So these 3 deep breaths help me a lot. I really should try to do them a couple of times a day. Should do them a lot more than that, but at least we get it here. Feel free to take them with me. As always, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Try to elongate that exhale. That's what's sort of going to create this calming effect in your body. So, number 1. And out. Number 2. And out. Number 3. And out. Okay, that was certainly good for me. I know you guys can see how it like calms, it slows me down. I'm not so intense. I'm not so reactive. I'm not moving so fast, talking so loud, talking so fast. So we can see literally the benefits of a grounding exercise like deep breathing. Just 3 deep breaths really is very short, 30 seconds or less. And you can be a lot more grounded and in the present moment and more in touch with your body, and at least in a place that your body is more relaxed. And so you're not feeling like keyed up and tense, which is certainly what I need right now. I'm feeling super keyed up and tense this morning. Okay, today we are talking about unhealthy conflicts. Next week, there will not be a show because I will be self-caring at a doctor's appointment and a massage. It's kind of like my monthly thing. I go get a massage that's helpful for my self-care. It's helpful for my chronic body pain. It is helpful for releasing fascial adhesions and tension from sitting all day, and kind of loosen everything up. So it is very much self-care for me and symptom management to get massages. I have a difficult doctor's appointment, at least one that I find difficult every quarter. And so I try to schedule those massages on days that I have that difficult doctor's appointment so that I have some self-care afterwards. So there will be no healing hour show next week, but I will be back in the last Thursday in April to talk about healthy conflicts. So there will be a follow-up to this. So stay tuned. Thank you to my new friend. I'm not going to pronounce your name right. I'm sure Ibrahim. So sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. You can give me the phonetics on the side or let me know. If handles well, conflict can be helpful. Exactly right. We are going to learn how unhealthy conflict is not helpful and what that looks like. So let me get my screen up here for you all. Thanks for always bearing with me. As you guys know, I'm a one-woman show. Thank you, Andrew. Deserve all the self-care in the world. I have to, right, guys? Like, we have to find sustainable practices that help us care for ourselves. Otherwise, we can't show up and do the work we need to do. Hell, I can't even show up and participate in my neighborhood Facebook group if I don't do self-care, because I'll be ready to rip somebody's head off. And that is true, guys. And I absolutely have ripped people's heads off before. Usually it's warranted. But like I said, if I get activated in my trauma, it's not so pretty, just like it's not for most people. If I am activated in that, we can be sure that I am not going to be engaging in healthy conflict. This is why grounding, getting back in touch with yourself, learning trauma-informed skills and practices can help you stay in your window of tolerance, which means that you have better control of yourself and better awareness if something does get triggered or activated in you, and that you can manage that more effectively so that we don't fall into these unhealthy conflict kinds of patterns and behaviors. I haven't had my coffee yet, so I will be having that as we go. Be sure to grab your yummy drink and join me. This is a relaxed setting, guys, if we haven't figured that out. Unhealthy conflict, what does it look like, and what can help improve conflict? So unhealthy conflict, today we're going to talk about the effects of it and how it keeps us trapped, how it keeps us trapped in terms of which emotions it keeps us trapped in, how it keeps us trapped in, which thought patterns it keeps us trapped in, actions and what behaviors it keeps us trapped in. And we're going to talk about some extremes, what keeps us trapped in the black and white or the either or mindset, and then a couple of pauses at the end that then we'll expand on in a few weeks when I talk about healthy conflict. Again, thanks guys for showing up, for my friends for being here. Feel free to drop your comments and your questions. I love to interact with others. You guys know this about me. So be interactive. And healthy conflict in terms of emotions. What happens here in unhealthy conflict? We can be reactive, hold grudges, and validate others. This is likely to occur. Being reactive looks like poor emotional regulation and poor self-awareness. Holding grudges looks like poor social emotional expression and poor communication. Like, we're not able to move through things, say how we feel about things appropriately, state and communicate with maybe what somebody else has done that has rubbed us the wrong way. If we're holding a grudge and we have to address conflict, it's likely that conflict is going to be unhealthy and unproductive rather than healthy and productive. Kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to say it wrong again. Ibrahim was saying, like, conflict can be helpful, but only if we handle it well. If we're being reactive, if we're holding grudges, if we are invalidating others, then we're not engaging in healthy conflict. Invalidating others, is poor social awareness and poor empathy. The emotions that we have going on in here are unknown to us. Like the poor in front of all this is just our lack of awareness and our lack of ability to handle our reactions, handle our grudges or things that have happened in the past, and handle other people's opinions, feelings, needs, or grievances in a healthy way. And then we can end up being reactive, holding grudges, and invalidating others, which is not going to move us through to a resolution. It's just going to keep us in conflict and in unhealthy conflict. Okay. Thoughts. So keeping us trapped in these thought patterns that are not helpful. Use of blaming and accusing, not helpful. Jumping to conclusions, not helpful. Use of mind reading or trying to mind read, not helpful. These are thought patterns, cognitions. Using blaming or accusing is this sort of lack of seeing the whole picture and lack of seeing your part. So not taking accountability there, not taking responsibility for any part that you played, and then maybe not seeing the whole picture of the part the other person played. And then we get into this accusing and blaming. Either way, it's not going to be helpful to move us through the conflict. Jumping to conclusions and or making assumptions. This in our thoughts leads us to faulty beliefs and lack of perspective. So having a narrow way of thinking about something, again, lacking this full picture, sort of having this tunnel vision. If we make assumptions or jump to conclusions, and jumping to conclusions and or making assumptions could be rooted in faulty beliefs that we have, either faulty beliefs about ourselves or others, faulty core messages, things that we perpetuate in our thinking that we don't realize we're perpetuating because it's always been there. This can certainly get in the way of engaging in healthy conflicts. Mind reading, this is limiting beliefs without asking or testing, right? So a little bit like making assumptions, but this is you really jumping in and assuming that you can read somebody's mind, that you know what they're thinking, and that you operate based on what you think they're thinking without asking, without testing it out, without being sure that's correct, without checking in to say, hey, do I have this right? I think this is what you're thinking, or this is where you're going, or this is what you mean. But if you just go with that without testing it out and you are incorrect or erroneous, it is going to create certainly interpersonal issues, and it is not going to help move us through any conflict, and certainly not in a healthy way. Hopefully this is making sense to you guys. If you have questions, let me know. Let me sort of recap just a little bit. So unhealthy conflict can keep us trapped in unhelpful emotions, in intense emotions, and being reactive, holding grudges, and invalidating others because our emotions are kicked up. Unhealthy conflict can keep us trapped in thoughts and poor thought cycles by use of blaming, making assumptions, jumping to conclusions, and mind reading instead of being self-reflective, self-aware, using good communication, and testing out things with others about their thinking. Okay, and unhealthy conflict keeps us trapped in actions like adding in old grievances, trying to win the argument, refusing to take responsibility. Adding in old grievance would be a lack of presence or a lack of present-minded awareness or being in the present moment. You were thinking in the past and pulling all that in rather than what's happening right now. Oh, look, here he is. Thank you. Oh, it's all good. Thanks. It sounds just like Ibrahim. Okay, great. Awesome. Ibrahim, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Ibrahim. Thank you for the phonetics there. I appreciate that. Guys, like that's actually a trauma-informed thing. Pronouncing somebody's name correctly is something that we want to do. It helps people feel understood, seen, known, I have a really simple name and people misspell it all the time. My name is Sarah and it has an H on the end. And many people, even though when they'll be sending me an email and address it with Sarah without the H, and it bothers me a little bit, guys, because that's not my name. And so if somebody mispronounces your name, it probably doesn't feel so great. So instead of, I had to guess here because I've never talked with Ibrahim. In live time. We've only had text messages back and forth, so writing context, but that's okay because you can ask for the phonetics of how to pronounce somebody's name, even if you are not talking with them directly. And this is really a trauma-informed people skill to avoid causing harm, because actually mispronouncing somebody's name or getting their name wrong can cause harm. It may seem like a small thing. It's not for some people, especially maybe if they've gotten your name wrong, your entire life or something like that. It can be sensitive for folks. So I really appreciate you giving me the phonetics on that and allowing me the opportunity to pronounce your name correctly, and being generous and kind to me if I did not in the beginning. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you are here. Ibrahim is a new connect of mine, but we seem to overlap quite a bit in our views and values on trauma-informed leadership. So go give him a follow, guys. He is doing a lot of cool stuff. I got to check out his profile and see some of the stuff he's been working on. Andrew's constant with the compliments. Thank you. It certainly boosts my day and it gives me the confidence to keep going in this train wreck of an episode. I apologize, everyone, today. I do hope you're getting something. Okay, back to how unhealthy conflict keeps us trapped in unhealthy actions. Bringing in things from the past to the current conflict is not helpful to the current conflict. I understand it might be helpful to your feelings, especially if the current conflict feels familiar to past conflicts. But we really kind of need to deal with one thing at a time, and our nervous systems need to deal with one thing at a time. And too much too fast, which I'm pretty famous for, especially in conflict, overwhelms people and overwhelms their systems. And if you're bringing in a bunch of old stuff, not only can they not focus on what's happening right now, but then they maybe have to defend or address the stuff from before. Either way, it's not moving us through this current conflict because we're pulling in a bunch of stuff from the past. So this behavior of adding in old grievances demonstrates a lack of present-minded awareness for this conflict in the moment, and likely a history of poor emotional regulation. So an inability to regulate when your emotions get triggered or activated in a conflict, or in a conflict that feels familiar to a conflict that you've had before. Trying to win the argument. The actions that sort of come with this are defensiveness and armoring up, which means we're not opening up and being curious and non-judgmental. We are ready to defend and fight. I'm pretty famous for this, especially if I feel triggered. Again, this is why self-awareness is important in terms of trauma-informed care, trauma-informed leadership. If you don't know how you show up, if you don't know what happens when you're in conflict, if you don't know what happens when somebody else is engaging in these unhealthy conflict behaviors with you, then you're not going to be able to come at it from a trauma-informed perspective. You're going to get caught up in your emotions like all of us do, unless you're self-aware about what that looks like for you and you know better ways to bring yourself back to baseline. So another action as a result of trying to win the argument is sort of operating out of old wounds and faulty core beliefs, which also means that we're either not self-aware about them and or we haven't done work around them. When this stuff comes up, we're not always aware of it. Often that's why these behaviors come up. It's because we're not aware of it. Sometimes they come up and we justify these behaviors, but we often justify these behaviors because we're not really aware of where they come from and that it's likely rooted in emotional reaction for us or triggering something from the past. And we need to maybe deal with that either in the present moment or overall in terms of like your healing and understanding yourself. And then unhealthy conflict can keep us trapped in unhealthy actions like refusing to take responsibility. Now, this is poor self-management and a lack of authenticity. If you're not ever taking responsibility for doing anything wrong or hurting anybody, you're not being authentic, because we all do that at some point or another, many, many times throughout our lives, sometimes accidentally, sometimes on purpose. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we can all say that we have refused to take responsibility or done something on purpose or on accident, to save face, to not get in trouble, to not look bad, to maintain power and control, to whatever. But that's not authentic. And so we can't have healthy conflict if we're not being authentic. And part of being authentic would be taking responsibility for your part in any of the conflict, and or taking responsibility and your part in the solution, which would mean not furthering the conflict. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you guys have questions. Unhealthy conflict keeps us trapped in the extremes. So black or white, good or bad, all or nothing, either or kinds of thinking. All of those things are sort of interchangeable. We want to get to something that's called a dialectic, which is a both and. There's a whole treatment modality in psychotherapy that's dialectical behavioral therapy that is based on this concept of things are not in the either or camp, the black or white, good or bad, but things are a both and. And so two opposing things can be true at the same time. But when we get in extremes, like it's hard for us to find that gray. And so some extremes, like in this black-white thinking, can look like overgeneralizing, being short-sighted, and a refusal to engage. So this is all or nothing, right, folks? By overgeneralizing and using extremes such as you always and you never, like it keeps us in the all or nothing space, right? We're not finding the middle ground. And really, people are not all good or all bad. There is a middle ground, right? So even if you're having conflict with somebody, their intentions are not all good or all bad. And if we overgeneralize that way, then it really puts us in an unhealthy space. Being short-sighted by thinking there's only one answer or one solution, that keeps us also in an all or nothing. It's either this or nothing. It's either my way or the highway. It's either this answer or it's no answer. That's not helpful. We're not going to resolve conflict that way. If we dig in, we're short-sighted and we're rigid. Also refusal to engage by stonewalling, shutting down or off, or just like refusing to participate in the conversation. You guys maybe think people don't do this. People absolutely do this in conflict. And it literally feels like you're talking to a brick wall. Like they're sitting there looking at you in the face and just not saying anything. It's very uncomfortable. It's probably just as uncomfortable as somebody screaming at you during conflict. Like it's in the extremes. You're either like overly engaged, right? If you're screaming, and you're straight up under engaged if you're not participating at all. These things are not helpful to conflicts. Let's see what Ibrahim has to say here. Unhealthy conflict isn't just a disagreement. It's a trap that locks leaders and teams into patterns of mistrust, poor communication, and missed potential. Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better myself, my friend. He said, you are correct, Sarah. Breaking free requires self-awareness, open dialogue, and a willingness to transform is that last part. And exactly. And this comes with doing your own work. And I will say this all day. And maybe people expect a therapist to say, do your own work, but that's how we get to trauma-informed care and trauma-informed leadership. You simply cannot show up well and cause the least amount of harm to other people if you are not aware of yourself and how you present. If you are not aware of your old wounds, faulting patterns, if you are not aware of your emotions and how to cope with them effectively, if you are not aware of the things that trigger you, if you are not aware of how you communicate and come across, then you cannot engage in trauma-informed care and leadership. Self-awareness is a requirement. Self-awareness only comes when you do your self-work. Self-work only happens when you have accountability. Usually with a therapist, you could potentially do it with a coach. It depends on how deep your shit runs. If you have childhood stuff, trauma, mental health disorders, you need to see a therapist, a licensed psychotherapist, not a coach. They're going to help you with self-awareness and managing these things, but you need somebody who understands mental health care fully to be able to work with that. If you don't have all of that in your history and you just lack self-awareness, then you could potentially work with a coach on that. But really be mindful about the provider that you are using to do your self-work. It's important and is maybe going to make or break your experience and maybe getting the result that you want from that self-work. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit today about how emotional intelligence improves conflict and getting us more to healthy conflict. I talked a lot about lack of self-awareness, lack of self-management, lack of social awareness. And I can't think of the other part of emotional intelligence. It's slipping my mind right now. But basically, that's a lack of emotional intelligence. If you lack emotional intelligence, you may not be able to engage in conflict in healthy ways. So, self awareness is vital for recognizing how we respond to conflict and also how we learned about conflict. So much conflict in my household growing up, screaming, yelling, throwing things, breaking things, hitting people. Like, that's how I know how to conflict. You yell the loudest until you are heard. And if they do not hear you and yelling, then you make more noise by breaking things. That is how that worked in my household growing up. I have to know that that is what I learned also about conflict, not healthy conflict, guys. Obviously, that was not healthy conflict. Did not learn how to resolve conflict in healthy ways in my family system. Nobody ever did. And they still don't. And I have to be aware that I pick that up, and I definitely perpetuate that, especially if I get activated in myself. Lack of self-awareness often leads to this defensiveness and poor conflict resolution. I mean, you just end up defending your stance, your emotions, why you were hurt, why that doesn't work, why you don't like this other person, instead of really trying to be open and coming to a solution, right? Like having this open dialogue that Ibrahim is talking about here. We can't do that if we are rigid, closed off, and defensive. And then being curious about our own struggles as well as the struggles of the ones we lead or the people around us without judgment, right? Like if we disagree with something that somebody else brings to the table, we often judge it right away, right? This is also judging something as right or wrong or good or bad. And we don't necessarily need to make that evaluation on everything. Not everything is right or wrong or good or bad just because they're different. Things are just different. And another big piece of emotional intelligence is understanding that difference, accepting that, and having empathy for others, and especially people that are different from you or come from a different perspective or see a different solution to that conflict or to that problem or issue. Having emotional intelligence improves unhealthy conflict by increasing self awareness, increasing curiosity, decreasing defensiveness, and decreasing judgment. If you want to know more about emotional intelligence, I have a free ebook on my website. You can look under the free resources at www.sarahobrienlcsw.com. I also have a couple of digital products that you could purchase that are related to improving your emotional intelligence, empathy towards others, and understanding yourself. So there are dealing with negative thinking workbook is something that can then help you see if you're falling into some of these thought patterns that are unhealthy, conflict, like sort of behaviors and thoughts. Your sustainable self-care and self-love workbook. The trauma informed leader learning guide is going to help you understand more about emotional intelligence. And of course, some of my past shows in which I talk about that. So head on over to my website, grab some of those digital products. They are really low cost, guys. And I know sometimes it can be intimidating to interact with somebody that you don't know and say, hey, I want to buy your product. So I've really made it easy for folks that you don't have to interact with me. It's all automated and you can go directly to my site, purchase that, and it will come to your inbox. Know that these resources and digital products are made by a subject matter expert in mental health and in behavior and thought change. I've been a practicing psychotherapist for over 15 years. I'm still practicing today. I'm constantly doing continuing education and research. And so all of my digital products are based on my experience and work with people and my expertise in the field. So you can learn more and start gaining some emotional intelligence in some free and cheap ways through resources on my website. I encourage you guys to go take a look. Ibrahim has another good point here. Emotional intelligence isn't just a soft skill. Oh, no. It's the foundation for breaking silos, building trust, and unlocking hidden team potential. Absolutely. And I would fully agree that it's not a soft skill. I mean, this is shit you need to learn. I was just having this conversation with my spouse who changed jobs recently, and he went from working with very few people to a lot of people. And he has had to adjust to having to communicate and interact with so many more people and so many different kinds of people, and people that don't agree with him and people he doesn't agree with, right? And more, like he wants to find a job where he has to interact less with people. And I was telling him, like, yeah, dealing with people is a skill. It is a skill. Navigating interpersonal relationships, especially at work, is a skill. This is often something that we don't naturally have. And even if you naturally have it, it certainly doesn't hurt to hone the skill. We have to be intentional about these things, or we're not going to be good at these things. So, not a soft skill. You have to actually put in effort to learn it. And Ibrahim is so right. It's what builds trust. It's what brings connection to people. And when people have trust and they feel connected, there's safety. And when there is safety, so much can flourish. People are really their best selves when they feel safe. And that means we can be the most innovative. We can be the most open. We can be the most willing and the most empathetic when we are in a safe place ourselves. But we also can take our part in having responsibility for creating a safe space for ourselves and for other people in how we show up and how we interact with others and how we deal with conflict, in how we lead if you are a leader. So some other ways emotional intelligence improves conflict, or moving us from unhealthy to healthy conflict, is this idea that most people don't prefer conflict. It's typical, and most don't prefer it. And we have to recognize that your struggle is different than mine, and mine is different than hers, and etc. And everybody is trying to address conflict, and most people are uncomfortable with it, right? So if we need to keep that in mind, most people don't prefer it. Let's have some empathy. We don't prefer it. People come at it differently. Let's have some empathy and curiosity and non-judgment for that. That's how emotional intelligence helps us improve in conflict. So in this case, we all respond to conflict differently too, based on our struggles, our past experiences, where we are in life, our histories of trauma. That's a given. You can't expect people to respond to conflict the way that you do. My spouse and I are prime examples. I'm a reach in and fight kind of person, and he's a retreat and shut down kind of person. And neither of those are healthy conflict skills, but they're definitely opposites. And we each can get really frustrated with the other based on our responses to conflict and things that are difficult. I get extremely frustrated that he shuts down. I'm sure he gets extremely frustrated that I get loud and angry. We neither, I guess, is right or wrong or good or bad. They're maybe not helpful, either one of us, in that space. And we both need to recognize that we come at it differently. And the self-awareness piece would be that we come at it differently and maybe not so well, and adjust some of those skills. Emotional intelligence is something that helps us have empathy and embrace the differences in how we conflict, and showing up with an open heart and mind so we can serve the work and each other and not our egos. And that's kind of the main thing. If you're in conflict just to be right, just to get your way, just to push your initiative through over top of and in spite of other people, well, I mean, it's going to cause problems. I can't see where it's not going to cause problems. People need choice. They want communication. We need compromise. You can't ask people to sacrifice everything for you to get everything that you want. Like that's not balanced. It's certainly not trauma-informed care, and it's not going to leave people feeling very good, which means they're not going to want to cooperate with you or resolve conflict in healthy ways. They're just going to feel railroaded. And that's either going to make them lose their voice or fight harder. Either way, again, not healthy for conflict. So go check out my resources. Get that free ebook on emotional intelligence, 17 things everybody should know. Grab some of my workbooks. They're going to have questions like this for you to expand in your self-awareness about how you conflict. First, recognize defensiveness in yourself. How does this look, and when are you most likely to get defensive? Is it around certain topics, certain people? Is it when something is said? Is it the volume? Is it certain words? I get really defensive when I feel like things are unfair. And And that's whether they're unfair to me or unfair to others. Like if my evaluation is that it is unfair, it is likely for me to be defensive. Does that mean that it's unfair? No. But I need to know that if I feel like things are unfair, I tend to get defensive. That's when I will dig my heels in and fight more. That doesn't mean it's unfair. I need to be able to check that, drop back into my body in the present moment, maybe ask a clarifying question. Hey, is this really unfair? Or can I say, hey, I feel like this is unfair. I need to maybe take a step back until I can calm down, or testing it out. I feel like this is unfair. Can I share this with you all and get some feedback? And then maybe it's not and I can move forward. Either way, I'm going to need to be aware of that for myself, to manage that when it comes up. And let me tell you, conflicts that feel unfair, situations in general that feel unfair to me are enormous. And maybe other people feel that way too, but it's hard. When I feel like things are unfair, defensiveness comes out fast. And so I also have to be responsible for finding a way to get back to my baseline so I can engage in communication and conflict still, even if something gets triggered in me that feels unfair. Some other questions for self-awareness. What behaviors activate your nervous system during conflict? Even though I get loud, when somebody gets loud with me, it is 100% going to activate my nervous system. And for me, that just means I'm getting more loud, right? Like this is what I learned in my family system, but that doesn't mean it didn't activate my nervous system. Just what activates my nervous system is also how I will respond to that activation in my nervous system. This is something I am aware of. It is not easy to deal with, but I am working on it and I am at least aware of it. This other question I kind of asked before, how was conflict modeled to you? I gave you guys the example from my own life. It was modeled exactly how I conflict now, unless I take control of my reactions during conflict and or when things feel unfair. Self-awareness is necessary to tame the ego and come to the table with a willingness to compromise, just like Ibrahim was talking about. To find a resolution that works for everyone. This is really what conflict resolution is. It's not somebody sacrificing so much that they are grossly dissatisfied and the other party is pretty much satisfied with the outcome. This has to be a solution, a resolution, an answer that works for everyone or works for the most people and causes the least amount of harm. We do require self-awareness for this and other awareness for this willingness to compromise. We have to be able to see other people's perspective, things that are important to them. The goals or initiatives that they want to do or see as necessary, or their ideas or opinions. Like all of these have to be held right in the both and space of they may not be the same, but they both are valid. And both parties, whether it's individual people or groups or whatever, need to feel that way on the back end of a conflict. Otherwise, resentment can build up. Future conflict might not be healthy, and interpersonal interactions after that might not be healthy. Okay. Sometimes I don't know if that's my last slide or not, guys, but it was. I hope you've learned something. I appreciate Ibrahim and his comments. I know that he works in trauma-informed leadership, so what he's saying is sort of spot on to all the stuff that I say. I appreciate Leanna and Andrew showing up to pop in to tell me that you are here. I appreciate anybody else who was here who did not pop in the chat and who is watching or watching the replay. I appreciate you watching, supporting my content, and I hope that you learned something. So how can I help further with conflict resolution skills? I already mentioned the freebie on my website of how to build your emotional intelligence, 17 suggestions for every person. You can go pick that up today, download it right now from the free resources at www.sarahobrienlcsw.com. There's a freebie number 2 for you guys. It's also listed on my website. It is in the free resources section, and it is also in the trauma-informed leadership section of my website. And it is a short video, like 5 to 7 minutes maybe, highlighting five key things to create a culture of safety. That's like a quick, tiny crash course in how to do things with healthier conflict, healthier communication. You can grab any of my toolkits or workbooks if you are struggling in an environment where unhealthy conflict happens all around you, or your leader or supervisor is not a healthy person and engages in unhealthy conflict, then you might need to learn how to set boundaries or take better care of yourself amidst that. We cannot change other people. We cannot always change the systems in which we have to live and work, but we can change and address ourselves and what we need. And learning how to set boundaries, assertively say no, learn how to step out of conflict when it becomes unhealthy for you, so you don't just continue to engage in it or get harmed. These are all things that you can learn in my toolkits and workbooks. Most of them are $19. There are a couple that are more comprehensive. They're a little bit more, and a couple that are a little less comprehensive. They're a little bit less. So $9, $19, $29, or $49 are how much the toolkits and or workbooks are. Head on over to my site, check those out. I will be getting a review on one of my workbooks soon from the people that I gave the freebie away to last week. So you'll get some outsider information about what those workbooks are like here pretty soon. If you want to know before you go grab it for yourself. I am also a licensed psychotherapist in Virginia and Maryland. If you are a resident and located in either of those states, I can potentially be your therapist to address some of these things and increase your self-awareness and self-care. Outside of that, if your mental health is well managed, but you want to get better at caring for yourself, at setting boundaries, at engaging in assertive communication, learning how to engage in conflict in a healthy way, I am open and available for one-to-one coaching in this, as well as in leadership skills and trauma-informed care and trauma-informed leadership. You don't have to be a clinician or in healthcare to adopt trauma-informed care into your practices and whatever you do, whether you're an attorney, or if you're a teacher, an accountant, a financial advisor, whatever. You can learn trauma-informed care and skills and apply them to your workplace setting. If you would like individual help with that, you can find me for coaching. I also do business-to-business consulting or business-to-community consulting for executives, team leads, managers, organizations, groups, nonprofits, anybody else who as an organization wants to adopt trauma-informed care, trauma-informed leadership into the way that they do things. The national network that I work with, Integrate Trauma-Informed Network, is another organization that does this and does consulting and training on these things. They just hosted a whole trauma-informed leadership symposium in the month of March. That was really awesome, and we had a great turnout. We had a lot of really good feedback from that. And then from the feedback from that, we are going to do some offshoots of some other workshops related to trauma-informed leadership principles and practices. And coming up on May the 10th, you guys will see me and Julie Johnson and Femia Hampton doing an embodied boundaries workshop. So Rooted in Resilience is a workshop series that Integrate is going to put out. We will have different subject matter experts from our community talking about different topics and themes for those workshops. You guys met Femia on my show earlier in March. You guys also met Julie Johnson earlier on my show in March. I encourage you to follow both of them. They are trauma-informed leaders and mentors and colleagues and friends of mine personally, and I believe in their work and what they're doing, and they help guide me in the same things. It's going to be really great, interactive, very tangible takeaways in this embodied boundaries workshop that we are doing on May the 10th. Registration is $50. You can go to the Let's Integrate Live website to register, or you can download the Integrate app for that. I would love to see you guys there. It's going to be a live session. It's on a Saturday. It's going to be interactive. We are going to learn how to actually embody boundaries and what that means, and coming at it from, because you're going to get some educational things coming at it from different perspectives. So there are opportunities, honestly, that I have and people that I'm connected with all over the place to increase your emotional intelligence, to increase your ability to communicate assertively and effectively without causing harm, to set boundaries and take care of yourself, and to apply trauma-informed care and leadership to whatever setting you are in, even if you just want to do that in your personal life. So reach out to me, guys. Like I said, psychotherapist, I'm a trauma-informed leader and a leadership strategist. Director of Student Wellness of a nonprofit, speaker, trainer, and of course, a private practice consultant for all my therapy friends out there. With all the stuff happening in the world, I am your professional for starting up your private practice. If you are interested in being a solopreneur, at least starting as a solopreneur and an independent clinician private practice, I can help you do that from the ground up. I have done that myself. I've had a successful business for 9 years without a business degree, business coaching, or business attorney, and no legal issues or problems or anything else going on, and turned over a profit every year for 9 years. I can help you do the same. Yes, I do take insurance. No, I am not a private self-aid practice only. That doesn't seem to be sustainable in the world where I am at. And so I can teach you exactly how to do this and be successful. So those are all the things that I do, all the hats that I wear, all the services I provide, all the things that I am involved in. I hope you all learned something today about unhealthy conflict. Reminder, next week we will not have the healing hour on, if I can remind myself of the date, we will not have the healing hour on April 24th. I will be at a doctor's appointment and other things for self-care. I will be back. Oh, it's the very 1st of May. I will be back May 1st for the follow-up episode on this, where I'm talking about healthy conflict, and I go into some more details about how to do that. And stay tuned, guys. I think if I have enough interest in this, I am going to do a fairly inexpensive pre-recorded crash course in emotional intelligence to give you a lot of the key things that you need. It will come with slides that you can have access to and some worksheets to work on these things. And so there is that coming. I have a crash course in emotional intelligence workshop in the works and on the way. So if it's something that you're interested in, please let me know. The more interest I have, the more likely it will come out sooner. Again, it will be an inexpensive live and pre-recorded, so available for later replay in this crash course on emotional intelligence to kind of definitely dive in, get the bulk, the meat of the information that you need, and then to send you off with some exercises that you can use to practice these things. I'll say again, the Healing Hour podcast is sponsored by the Let's Be Diverse podcast, which is hosted by Andrew Stout, who is a human resources guru and just recently started his own business of coaching and consulting others and getting them guest appearances and more exposure for their work. He's gotten some pretty cool testimonies about that. So run on over to his page, guys, and check out what he has going on. We have collaborated for a reason, so you know there is alignment there. As always, you matter. You are worthy. I need this message today, maybe more than you all out there. I've been feeling a lot like I don't really matter to anybody. I'm indisposable. People can treat me and talk to me any way that they so please, and there are no repercussions or consequences except the hurt and pain that I feel that they don't have to bear. And so I know I'm not the only one that feels like that. And if it's just me today, I know it's not just me all the time, and it's somebody else on a different day. So this podcast is really to always send out the message that healing is available to you. You can feel like a whole, well person. You matter. You are worthy. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made or how imperfect you are. That is true. You are valuable as a human being on this earth, as am I. And it would be great if we could all get better at treating each other like that. I'm going to do my work in that and continue to do my work in that. And I hope that you all will continue to do your work in that. Thank you for joining me or catching this replay. Drop me a comment if you liked it. Head over to my website, check out more of my work, or read some of my blogs, or pick up some of my digital products. And I will see you guys back here on Thursday, May the 1st at 11 a.m. for more conversation on healthy conflict and ways to engage in that. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.